First of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to be here to speak with you about my company. It is a company that was created to be your company, the service industry professional. Your company, the consumer who's also anchored into the service industry. This is a company that was created for you, with you in mind. Now, what is the name of the company? Great question. Name of the company is A Beautiful Association Salon and Network, and I'm here on behalf of my network informing you of the tremendous amount of value that we are bringing to the service industry. Now, that value that I speak of is measured in dollars and cents. As in, from the network's perspective, if it does not make dollars, it does not make sense. Now, for the professional, he or she sees a substantial increase in income as new customers start to pour into their businesses by way of the ABA network, while the consumer sees a new and real sense of buying power that is systematically used for immediate results in this multi-billion-dollar consumer industry. Under the network, we think and know that it is truly a win-win for both the business owner and the consumer. Now, at A Beautiful Association Network, we are excited about the opportunity as well as the capacity in which we are able to serve both the business owner and his or her customer, the consumer, in a very unique and creative way that for them in itself becomes a groundbreaking experience. For the network, it is a game changer of the service industry, leading us to our faith in the fact that we have answered the most important question that anyone can ask in today's time. That question is, what is God up to in the service industry? The answer is the 4C program, creating a community of conscious consumers. It is a God-inspired program coming through a God-inspired network created for a time such as this. Now, 2 Chronicles 7:14 says this: if my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sins, and heal their land. At A Beautiful Association Network, brothers and sisters, we take this as an opportunity for us to become change agents, changing our communities all over the world, starting in the metropolitan area of Detroit, where we have been coined the Renaissance City. We can change our communities through our businesses, which is our leadership, and through our business transaction, which is our conscious consumers. What do we want you to do? Go to abeautifulassoc.com right now and register, bringing your God-given gifts and talents along with your faith, and watch the miracles happen. Hello there. Hello out there. Hello and welcome to ABA Salon and Network's third podcast. Yay. It's a big deal, y'all. Now, third podcast meaning what? Meaning we have two prior to this one, right? That we want you to go and check out on the Spotify platform, right? One is titled, How Can I Help You? And the other is titled, Is Chess and Not Checkers, right? And so we want you to go to Spotify platform, check them out. Name of it is ABA again. ABA is that perfect circle with the ABA in the middle of it. And anytime you see that, you know that's us, right? So we invite you, please go check them out, and it'll kind of be self-explanatory when you come back over here, and you'll be caught up, and you can hear my voice on that one, and on this one, you can put my handsome face with my voice. So this is also a kind of milestone. We're doing it all here. We're doing the visual and the audio. So again, name of the company is ABA. ABA stands for Beautiful Association. What makes it a beautiful association, my brothers and sisters, is people like yourself. And we are going to kind of stick with our theme of, again, how can I help you? And we're going to piggyback off of it's chess and not checkers, right? ABA, let me tell you what ABA is about. ABA is about, what is this podcast about? This podcast is about power, right? What kind of power? God's power on top of our power to create what? To create dynamite so that we may change the world. Now, let me say that again. God's power on top of our power so that we may change the world. Now, how do we change the world, my brothers and sisters? And what world are we changing? Will continue to be pertinent questions, right? And so we change the world by our businesses in the service industry businesses, and our business transactions, which is the consumer industry, where we as African Americans slash people of color, we create enormous amounts of income or wealth, I should say, for everyone else, right? Except ourselves. When the rubber meets the road, my brothers and sisters, when the deal goes down, we still remain powerless, and that is unacceptable. It's unacceptable to God who gives us the power, and it's unacceptable to us at the ABA Network, but God has chosen us to be a vehicle of change, right? And so that is what we're talking about. That is what we will continue to talk about. And um, as the name of our podcast or series, I should say, that won't change, it is what can we do or mention that will get God's attention, right? And I say that is the most important or relevant question, important and relevant question that anybody could be asking in today's time, right? Whether you are at the top of the chain, as in our millionaires, multi-millionaires, and billionaires, which I'll talk a lot about because again, this thing is about it is about resources, right? So whether you are at the top of the chain or the bottom, as in at the bottom, trying to crawl yourself up, as some would say, by your bootstraps when you don't even have bootstraps. That's still a pertinent question. Or in the middle, that we may see ourselves, right? Middle class, whatever you want to title you want to put on it, right? What can we do? A mention that would get guys' attention is definitely the question of today's time, right? And one of the things that right offhand, what can you do? A mention that will get God's attention, and this is for everybody. It's like a common sense thing to God is to think big, right? Think big, 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 bigger than you ever have, right? And you know, God always have verses for us in the Bible. And again, I want to say this right again, right now, is this is not a religious program, right? Although I am talking from my spirit, God is the head of our network, and we're going to talk about that too. What's the difference in our network and anybody else's network, right? We're not reinventing the wheel, but at the ABA Network, Beautiful Association, networks created for you, with you in mind. God is the head of it, right? And so that's what we want to make that plain, and throughout. And anytime you talk about business, you talk about what's the difference in our business and anybody else's business. Well, this one is about God is the top, is at the top of it, right? So so again, I am saying to say that what can we do? A mention that will get guys' attention is the ongoing theme and subject of our podcast, and sometimes it's just think big, my brothers and sisters. Right? God has given us all gifts and talents, and no one is insignificant, right? And especially in this time that we're dealing that we're living in, man. We are living in some we're living in some best and the worst of times, as they say. But again, what I want us to tap into is the opportunities, right? The opportunities. And so God is talking to us at the ABA Network, and He said, "How can you change the world? You can change the world through your businesses in the service industry. Why? Because you're serving, right? We got to understand that. It's no, God makes it. He's making it as plain as He possibly can for us now, right? We can because we're in the service industry, so we're serving, right? And the business transactions, right, which is our consumer industry. And you tell me who are the biggest consumers on this side of the water on this planet, right? It is us, my brothers and sisters. It is us as African Americans, Black people. Now, I also want to state this because it's in my spirit now. We are all God's people, right? We are all God's people, whether you're black, brown, blue, whatever, man. We are all God's people, but we are the ones, right, that kind of has it messed up, right? We the one divide, conquer. We the one black, white, blue, light skin, dark skin. You know what I mean? We look alike, different languages. So we are the one that divides, but God does not. He says, y'all all my kids. Y'all just got to get it, right? But for business purposes, right? I am talking to undoubtedly my people, as in my black people, my African Americans, right? And we are the ones, from my perspective, and this is again from my perspective, ABA Network. That's, I say, chosen people, right? Now we've heard that term before from a biblical standpoint, but I'm not so much as in we're the chosen people from a biblical standpoint. Although my preachers will back that up. Now, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying we're the chosen people even just by the way of our potential, how much potential we have as black people, as African Americans, and especially in the metropolitan area of Detroit, right? So we have all of this potential of God given gifts and talents, and God knows we have it, right? But we are living so far up under it, man. And I'm generalizing, but I'm talking about what I'm talking about. We're living so far up under it, right? That if we, as African Americans, black people, did anything from a monolithic standpoint, meaning all in one, right, the world would change yesterday, right? And so that's how powerful we are. That's the opportunity. And that's what should excite you like it excites me, right? The passion in me that says, man, you if you were holding in your hand, right, in your hand, in your spirit, and who you are, in your consciousness, right, the ability to change the world, right, from God's perspective, right, changing to the better, man. You know that's crazy, ain't it? That is absolutely crazy, and yet we do have that ability, but again, we have to lift our consciousness in order to see it. So that's what ABA Network is about, right? ABA Salon and Network. Salon is explanatory. That I've been in the hair industry for 40 plus years, right? And so that's interesting because I have a plan for us as in hair care professionals, right? As in salon owners and barbers that standing behind the chair, cosmetologists that standing behind that chair. We got a plan at the ABA Network for us, right? And that's, I want that to get in your system too, from a professional standpoint, and it excites you. I mean, what if you could do God's work through salons across America, right? And be doing what you are doing, you know what I mean? And now your consciousness is lifted to how we can totally involve our communities, our households, our schools, our churches, right? And we're gonna talk about churches, our bank accounts, and all of that. Well, that's my whole point with this service industry thing. God is talking to us in a new way, man. He's doing a new thing, right? He's doing a new thing, and anytime God does anything, it's always fresh, right? Although it's nothing that's been invented, nothing new up under the sun, because God created it all. He ain't surprised by nothing. But God is doing a new thing. And guess what that new thing is? That new thing is called practicality, right? Practicality. God is telling you, my child, right? Right where you are. I know where you are. I've placed you where you are. It doesn't, and so I want you to understand the practicality of me that is in you, right? When you're at home, when you're talking to your kids, when you're at school, when you're at your job, right? When you're in your neighborhood, when you're in your community, which we're trying to make this thing turn into communities, right? We're turning turning hoods into neighborhoods, and neighborhoods into communities, right? So God is with this practicality movement, and at the ABA Network, I'm excited about it, man. I'm excited about it. I got some other people that's excited about it, and if you haven't been living under a rock, so to speak, you see in the metropolitan area of Detroit, there is an economic movement going on, y'all, right? It has gotten started, right? I know you might be familiar with it. A few weeks ago, the Target, right? The Target thing at the Target store, right? Our church was involved in it as Third New Hope Baptist Church, right? My pastor, Quantez Presley, and we went down to the Target. I think we were on Southfield Road, and we put a little spin to it too, because again, I say you can't protest necessarily like we did 30, 40 years ago. You know what I mean? Malcolm was one of my favorites. That's what he was talking about, economics. Him and Martin Luther King, believe it or not, was talking about economics. But with that said, we put a little spin on it when we were down at Target. We went in and patronized the black businesses that was in Target, right? And so that has to be on our mind as well, right? That has to be on our mind as well. But like I say, being the consumers that we are, right? We have the power in our hands, right? But we have to learn how to be conscious consumers, right? Conscious spelled CONSCIENCE, right? From our perspective, God consciousness, right? And so when we understand that, and at the ABA network, let me say this, ABA network.net, sign up, man. We got the easiest sign as you can sign. We got a job form sign there. We actually like 5 questions, it's yes or no answers, and you in, right? And we start the relationship from there, right? And you cannot get finished till you get started. So what I'm saying by that is we went down to Target and we patronize black businesses, but us as consumers, right? Uh, I want to invite you back to again on the Spotify platform, Chestnut Checkers. Um, Chestnut Checkers, and How Can I Help You? Right, those are two episodes, right? And in the Chestnut Checkers, we talked about very briefly that perfect circle, right? Perfect circle with a clock, right? And on the clock, 12, 3, 6, and 9, we put all of the ethnic people that we as African Americans put wealth in their portfolios. In other words, we go into their stores, right? Let's just call it like we see it. We are, when it comes to consumers, hey, you got to put you got to put us there, right? So on the outside of the circle, I don't want to go into the whole thing, but on the outside of the circle, from 12, 3, 6, 9, we put all of the ethnic people that ethnic businesses that we go in and visit, from the Chaldeans at top, Arabs and Koreans and Chinese on one side, and you know what I mean, and even the Hispanic brothers and sisters now is maybe new to relatively new to the to the party, but they understand, right? And so the whole point with that was they are on the outside, we're on the inside as African Americans. And guess what our title is? Consumers, right? And if we draw lines to all of those people, and I'm not mad at any of them because this is over in America on this side of the world, and we do what we have to do. But when we draw lines to all of those people, guess who's getting the wealth? And at the end, my brothers and sisters, we are still powerless, okay, or somewhat powerless. And again, I am generalizing. I don't want to make you mad or whatever, but I'm just calling it like you see it. We have to get rid of that, what? Stinking thinking, right? We got to get rid of that stinking thinking. I wrote a poem about it, and I'm gonna always end my podcast with that poem, right? And again, the title of that poem, we'll talk about it, but we have to get rid of that stinking thinking, right? We got to replace the stinking with the thinking. Start to what? Spend our in God we trust, right? And that's important, man. That's important. Uh, we have to have a mentality, man, that when we go in and spending our money, right, and especially I'm talking about Christians now. I'm talking about Christians, children of God, right? And I'm not talking about it from a religious standpoint. I'm talking about where the rubber meets the road, where Jesus Christ, our Savior, walked this earth. You know what I mean? He wasn't absent of money. He wasn't not talking about money. He said, he didn't say money was the root of all evil. He said the love of money was the root of all evil, right? So where the rubber meets the road, on the dollar, it still says in God we trust, right? And the God he talking about. So I say that to say we have to raise our consciousness that when we start going to these stores, man, spend our money, whatever we spend it, we have to have that in our spirit that, hey, man, hey, lady, hey, miss, hey, I have a relationship with that guy that's on the dollar. In God we trust, right? So we had to take that personally, man. You know what I mean? We had to take that personally. So I'm just saying that that God is saying to us in this practical movement, and that's what's so exciting about it. He's with us right now in our businesses, right? And he's with us in the service industry business in particular, right? Because you're serving, right? God came here to what? To serve, right? So it ain't no, this is not brain surgery, man, by no means. This is the big kid's puzzle that I say about in chestnut checkers, right? You can fill this puzzle out in 15 minutes or less. You know, my grandbabies can do it, right? So this is not, again, this is not brain surgery as to what we have to do, right? God says you got all the power in your hand. You're consumers. Everybody needs you. Now we just have to understand how to need ourselves. So what's so exciting about it is the metropolitan area of Detroit, y'all. There is a movement, right? And if you think I don't know what I'm saying, just check it out, YouTube, whatever. And before this is over with, I'm gonna have some names that are real pertinent when it comes to this era that we're dealing with. Some names of people, high profile people, and you've probably heard some of the names. But before it's over with, I'm gonna put those names. I'm gonna give you those names just so you can connect the dots. But on top of all those names, now I want you to put ABA Network first, right? Because we are the ground roots, right? We are the ground roots, and we are a vehicle that God has chosen to a vehicle, I said, that God has chosen to lead or be leaders in this economic movement, right? So again, I said I'm gonna stick to the theme of I'm not gonna get too far away from how can I help you, and it's chess and not checkers because it's so relevant, man, and God put it in my spirit, right? So as in chess and not checkers, I told you about that perfect circle, the clock, and when you put us in the clock and inside the clock and draw lines to every business that's on the outside of that clock, right? We are the ones that's putting wealth in their portfolios, right? And there's no doubt about it, right? And so we have to have an attitude to where it's a fair exchange is not robbery, man. You know, when I go into your store, you support me, I support you. And so this is what I'm getting to. This is what I'm getting to. And even in that, we're gonna put that aside a minute because we got to put ourselves first. But this is what I'm getting to. Um, when I talk about God, right? When I talk about God, this is just not something I'm talking about, right? And for me, what's so excited about it, as I said, He has come to us in this time as a God of practicality, right? Right. And so He says that this is what God says, period. And we should know this in our spirits. And if you don't, listen to it anyway, right? You know, God created uh, everything that we see, including us, with the spoken word, right? You know that it was nothing. Don't get it twisted. Like it was something here. No, it was nothing here, and then God created it, right? And then He created us to manage it and inhabit it and all of that, right? But I'm saying that to say this: in everything that God does, He spoke it into existence, right? So when it comes to business, right? His people in business, us, right? In the service industry businesses, God has some spoken words, right? And those words are powerful, man. And guess what those words are? One of them is, how can I help you? Right? You support me, I support you, right? You buy from me, I buy from you. You know, those are spoken words, man. Those are spoken words that God speaking to us in our businesses. And if we raise our consciousness in order to understand what He's saying and where it comes from, man, you talking about a change, right? You talking about eye opening. I mean, you not only would go to work, but you smile from the time that you're getting up ready to go to work, right? Because you see something a little differently, and you start to see power, and you start to see a change. You know what I mean? You start to see us in a monolithic kind of way, and this is also what's exciting when we talk about monolithic and all in one, right? We don't need all of anything to make this difference, just a percentage, right? When you talk about churches and imagination, I'm gonna get to that in a minute, right? But anyway, spoken word, that's what I'm getting to, right? Spoken word, how can I help you, right? Where did that come from, right? Again, we think that we created everything, meaning our the words that we say and even the ideas that we come up with, right? Man, that's fresh and new, but God put it in you, right? So words, how can I help you? How did I get that? This is what's
and this is what's exciting to me, man, and it's fun to me, right? I thought about this, and God put it in my spirit, whatever. Long story short, and while I'm talking now, I'm correcting something from the last couple of podcasts because I was so excited. I said, God, 35 years, Jesus Christ, and 30. No, third for Jesus Christ was on this earth according to the book for 33 and a half years. And I want to correct that, right? He was on this earth for 33 and a half years, right? And he came in as God's son, right? And so he went the same route that we has as in the son of man. So that means that he experienced everything that we experienced. And so when he's talking about things, he has experienced it, right? So God was here 33 and a half years, right? Here's my point. Uh, God, Jesus Christ, in the form of Jesus Christ, his son, is the CEO of marketing, right? Right. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm tying it all in to what can we do a mission that will get God's attention, changing the world, right? This is what this practical thing is about, man. That's why I'm so excited. But long story short, God walked the earth for a large period of time, but he went through just what we went through, baby, adolescence, so on and so on and so on, right? But guess what? Guess why God, Jesus Christ, in the form of Jesus Christ, is the CEO of marketing, right? I'm gonna give you a minute, just think about it, and I'm gonna tell you. You know what God is the CEO of marketing, Chief Executive Officer of marketing, right? And Chief Executive Officer is just not even a big enough word now. Don't get me wrong, because God is marketing, God is math, God is all of that, right? So, but you know why he's the just for this purpose, you know why he's the CEO of marketing, y'all? Because he walked the earth in the time that he walked, asking and being asked the most important marketing question that anybody can ask up until today's time, and they are still asking it in such a phenomenal way that again, what's the question? How can I help you? Right? Do you get that? Now say that again and put it in your spirit as a business person or even as a consumer, because we all consumers now. You know what I mean? I've been in the salon industry for 40 years, right? I got salon barbershops and they had salon barbershops. I got one now, and it's in my it's. But again, how can I help you is the most important question that you can ask, right? And it is a marketing question. And God asked it continuously, and they asked him that continuously. How can you help me? How can you help me? How can I help you? Right? And anytime Jesus Christ asked, so the practicality of this and the fun part of this is you might not have thought about that. Say, yeah, that's so I am in touch with God, even not knowing I'm in touch with him because I'm a businessman and people coming to my door, I'm asking that question, how can I help you? Right. And they coming in the door asking me, can you help me? Right. Whatever you selling, whatever your service, so on and so on. So God walked the earth and that's what they was asking him. Right. Lord, can you help me? Right? Lord, can you help me? From the lady that said, if I can just touch his garment, I can this blood will be gone. I know it will. She had that kind of faith. From the guy that stopped him on the way going somewhere and said, man, can you, my daughter or son is dying in the bed. I think it was his daughter, right? And he said, man, I know you can help, right? To the person that's sitting at the pool, right? The disciples, right? Said, hey, man, if you just put me in the water, man, I know I'll be healed. So on and on and on. And I want again, throughout the Bible, God was asking and being asked that question, right? And even the good part about God, and I'm moving with this what I'm talking about, but it's very important what I'm talking about. As I said, what's the difference in our network and anybody else's network? God is on top of it, right? He's on top of it. And he's on top of it in a practical way, and he's talking to us, right? So, how can I help you, right? And even when God was talking to people, right? Again, this is what's so mind blowing. This is why we serve him, because he already knew the answers to everything he asked you. He already knew the answers, right? Right? But he just again wanted to hear what you had to say, right? Which leads me to my next spoken word: relationship. Right? That's what God was after all the time, a relationship. Now you tell me those are not marketing words. How can I help you? Relationship, right? Reason why relationship is, and I'm talking to you as a business person. Now I'm talking to you as a business person and consumers. The reason why relationship is a spoken word. Why? Because if I ask you, how can I help you? You know what I mean? If you ask me, how can you help me? The obvious answer is you can't help me, man, because you don't know me, right? Right? And that's where relationship comes in. And if you don't believe relationship and how can I help you are God spoken words, right? That anybody who use them will get results from them, right? Then think of Amazon, right? Think of Amazon. Think of Ford. Think of Chase Bank. Think of all the things that we pay homage to right now, right? Okay, and again, spoken word from God, right? You got to understand everything anybody's doing, man, is God related, whether they accept it as that or not, right? But it's up to us as His kids to understand that's what it is, man. Ain't nothing new. God, man. It is about God. When we talk about a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, right? You familiar with that? With that, you know what I mean? That's saying who you talking about? Who you talking about? You talking about Chase? You talking about Ford? You talking about Amazon? You talking about all of the people necessarily companies, right? Corporations, right? LLCs, right? That we pay homage to today, right? Because it doesn't matter um, how they view it necessarily, right? But you have to view it and understand that that's what they're doing, right? It's a verse in the Bible that I like to say. Again, my Bible scholars might see it differently, but in my spirit, God says it's a verse in the Bible says that if the evil man knows how to give his child good gifts, what do you not think I'll do for you? Right? Right? Now, people take that verse all kind of ways, and Bible scholars even take it different ways too, right? But in my spirit, and I rather, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that's all right. I'd rather be wrong on this side, right? Because God ain't gonna, he gonna say, well, that boy, he trying to get it. He understand. I ain't gonna fault him for that. But you know what that verse says to me in my spirit, right? That's God chastising his kids, right? He's telling you might be thinking that in the end, he striking out at the evil man. In that verse, he's not necessarily striking out the evil man. He's striking at us. He's talking to us. He's saying, if and whoever you put as evil, that's on you, right? That's another thing. We quick to call somebody evil and this and that. I ain't into all that, but here's the point. God is saying, this guy, and he's talking to you now, his kid, but he's talking about somebody else. He's saying, and this is in my spirit, okay? He said, this guy knows how to use my system of seed and harvest better than you, right? In other words, whatever you plant, you gonna get, man. You know what I mean? You gonna get it now because God made the world that way, and He's not a liar. He can't take it back. None of that, right? So that means that thank God for His grace and mercies and how He's put us, especially on this side of the water, right? Because if you plant roses, buddy, you're gonna get roses. If you plant them in fertile seed in the right way and all that, you're gonna get roses, right? If you plant weeds, you're gonna get weeds, right? And that's the whole point of that verse to me, right? And so he's saying, look, y'all, I created this thing for y'all, my kids. And she knows how to use it better than you do, right? So that's part of that, man. And that's the part of me growing as an older man, right, with grandkids and great grandkids. It's still exciting for me on the inside because you can still read the Bible, man, and still get freshness out of it. You can still get things out of it right now that would help your black butt right here. You know what I mean? He's talking to you, man. He's talking to you. Whether you trying to get off that pipe, you know what I mean, or whether you a decent person, but you just ain't talking to your kids, right? You got kids out here that you ain't never talked to, right? So all of this is what I'm talking about, right? What can we do eventually to get God's attention on every level where you may be, man? You can do some things right now, and because of the environment, man, God has given you, I like to say, hundredfold for your trouble. You know how you say, God, double for your trouble, man. God is turning some stuff around if you just do the right thing. You know what I mean? And Spike Lee said, "Do the right thing," and most of us know what the right thing is, man. But that's so exciting for me. The fact that, like I said, you know, uh, getting off drugs, that's a big thing, right? You know what I mean? But but getting in touch with your kids might not be as a harder thing to do. You just got to pick up the phone. You know what I mean? You got the smart phone right in your hand. You know, it's hard for you in spirit, right, to do it because you don't know what's going. Like, man, I ain't this guy. Yeah, you're right. Your son, he might be doing that. What? Who are you? I don't know you. But that's another thing. But my point is, what can we do to get a mission that will get God's attention? And how do we change the world, right? You know, another one of my favorite verses, and my daughter's here, Tara here, and she's turned into my producer, you know, my director. So if I stray off, Tara, she could be in my ear, let me know. Dad, let's keep it moving, keep it moving. So, or what was I gonna say? So, you know, another verse that I like in the Bible, right? And this is, I think this is my all-time favorite verse. You know, my wife tells me this all the time. You know, there go your verse, there go your verse. And if you look at some of my videos that's out there, you'll find I've quoted this verse or tried to quote this verse, right? And again, not a religious thing, so I might get it wrong, but you'll know what I'm talking about. And it's in Chronicles, I think it's 7:14. If my people who are called by who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, seek my face, right? Turn from their wicked ways. Where now from the ABA network, Wesley Steps, I want to change the wicked, right? And say if they would turn from their unproductive ways, right, right, seek my face, turn from their unproductive ways, repent, you know, then and you know I'm skipping a couple of words, but then will I hear from heaven, right? And heal their land. You know what that means, man? You know what that means? That means that God is always rooting for us, man. You know what I mean? He's rooting for us. Get this thing together, y'all. Do you think that I am going to let this last forever when I put y'all here for a specific purpose, right? And y'all study. We are not y'all. We are steady moving away further and further away from the purpose. Do you think that, you know, God's gonna let this happen forever? And see, that's my whole point, man. That's that verse. He's still saying, if y'all turn yourselves around, I changed this thing, man. I'm the creator of time, right? I can give you time, take it away, and all of that, right? But I'm the creator of time. And if y'all was just, can you imagine that, man? Can you imagine that? And here's the point. It's not that big, man. It's on every level. So you know, I wrote a poem. You know, the title of this podcast is "What Can We Do to Mention That Would Get God's Attention." You know, I wrote a poem about it too, and that's on YouTube. And I'm asking y'all to go to YouTube, the Perfect Circle ABA. It's called ABA Purpose, right? I wrote that poem, and my grandson edited the poem, right? With his smart self. But anyway, long story short, I just again, what can we do to mention that would get God's attention? Guess how the poem starts? If I was a young man, I put down my gun. If I was a father, I go find my son. If I was a parent, I could go help the teacher. I could start an economic program from the pulpit if I was a preacher. And those are just that's just the first three, four lines of it, right? But imagine that, man. Little things. Imagine from the biggest thing to the littlest thing, right? What is one of your pet peeves? I mean, do you think we can continue on this thing, man, with young kids, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 years old, out there with so much anger and got them guns, man? You know what I mean? And ain't caring about nothing, right? Do you think this can continue, right? In our community, in our neighborhoods, right? Because I mean, we killing each other, man. You know what I mean? We don't need Nazis no more. We don't need KKK. We are the KKK, right? And I'm saying we because I can't eliminate myself. I'm a part of us, man, right? So here we go again. If I was a young man, I put down my gun. If I was a father, I go find my son. Them two things alone, man. You want to get God's attention, young man? Find your son, man. Find your son, lady, right? And I'm not blaming anything. I'm saying it is what it is because 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 year olds, most of them are coming home to our households. They ain't got their own apartments. Most of them don't. You know what I mean? So they coming home to our households, and most of the time we know what our kids are doing, right? And dad, I'm telling you, as a father myself, as a father, as a grandfather, as a great grandfather, right? I'm telling you in my spirit of God that these young boys are on the streets, young boys and young girls too. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, your daughter needs you more than you do. Come on, guys, you understand that, right? So anyway, these young boys are on the street angry, man, right? And that's where the anger coming from. Again, not having power. That's another thing. Again, God gives us all power. All of us want power. That's part of what it comes down to, as well. But it's love, man. It's anger, man. When they knocking people upside the head and with them pistols and I'll shoot you in a moment's notice like dust. You know what they're saying? You know what they're saying? MF, you ain't none of my daddy. MF, ain't nobody ever loved me. MF, where is my daddy at? You don't believe it, but that's what they're saying. You know what I mean? Where's my nobody ever loved me, right? That's anger, man. So can you imagine wherever you may be, young man, old man, and no excuses, whether you're in the penitentiary, incarcerated, there's things you can do from there, right? No excuses when it comes to us. Can you imagine that? What can I do or mention that will get God's attention? If you ask that question wholeheartedly from your spirit, and God says, call your son, get in touch with your son, get in touch with your daughter. Wow, man, you know what I mean? There we go. So again, if I put down my gun, that gun is deep, boy, in our neighborhoods, man. It's just crazy, man. It makes no sense. You know what I mean? If I was a parent, I go help the teacher. Education, man. You know what I mean? What did God say about education? My people perish by what? Lack of knowledge, right? And the way He has made the world, right? He cannot take it back, right? So you getting a double blast because you got smartphone right in your hand, right? And they using it, right? We used to have to go to the encyclopedias and look up stuff and go to the library. I'm in the library now, right? Beautiful library, Southfield Library, man, is top of the line. But we used to have to go to encyclopedias and it's right there in your hand, man. You know what I mean? And so now you think you ain't getting persecuted just because of you got something in your hand and ain't paying attention to it. Ain't asking the right questions. Ain't paying attention. Right? God don't change his mind. My people perish by lack of knowledge. So again, here we go. You know what I mean? So again, parent help the teacher, right? We got good teachers, parents get yourself together and help the teachers and even if the teachers can help you, you know what I mean? Because I ain't mad at you. I don't know algebra. You know what I mean? I don't know geometry, right? I'm glad I got uh, my daughters that can deal with their kids, my grandbabies and my great grandbabies, right? But my point is, man, um, if I was a parent, I'd go help the teachers, right? If I could start an economic program from the pulpit if I was a preacher. And here we go with this, man. This is what's exciting because for the one time I heard in my mind, and I ain't heard this since Malcolm, right? I haven't heard this since Martin Luther King, right? And this is why I'm talking about Jamal Bryant because he's somehow putting his voice to it, and people are paying attention. And he talks it good too, and I think he's gonna walk the walk, right? But for the first time in years, man, I have heard one preacher say that I'm trying to get all the churches together to start thinking economically. Woo, Lord. Can you imagine that? Imagination here. I talked about that in one of my podcasts. God gave us imagination where he didn't get that to any animal, right? So again, can you imagine that, man? Can you imagine, especially in the metropolitan area of Detroit now, where we got churches on every corner? You know what I mean? We got liquor stores too on every corner. And see, that's the dichotomy, right? That's on one corner you got a church, right across the street you got a liquor store. Okay, but that's neither here nor there, right? But can you imagine all the churches in the metropolitan area of Detroit drop the titles or drop what they, you know what I mean? That's not important anymore, right? What's important is this economic plan that we got going on, right? And from our perspective, ABAnetwork.net, y'all, the network that was created for you, with you in mind, we are the ones, the consumers, the Christians, the children of God. We are the ones that can put pressure where pressure is due and make them start to think about it, right? But it's already been a thought. So that's again, God is swirling the stuff around, man, right? And he's saying, guess what? The only way it gets done is that we do it. Why? Because of the Trinity, right? He gave this world to us. Let them have the world and give them dominion, right? And God is not a liar, so he cannot change his mind, but he can put the swirl times, man. The time of the winds are changing, man. You know what I mean? It's changing to the point of it don't matter about your grand people, your great grands or slaves, and that all of that don't even matter. It matters, but it don't matter, right? Because of what we can do right now. You know what I mean? The guy that's in the White House, right? That some of us call president, right? you know, whatever. Again, we have to take responsibility. He was there because we voted or didn't vote. You know what I mean? Voted him in. But again, what does God say about it? Right? God says, I can take whatever's bad and turn it to good. Right? So did it light a fire up under us? Right? Y'all my kids again. You know what I mean? If my people or whatever, I'm just saying. So that's all good. So um, I guess I'm excited, right? I got my passion, right? And ABA Network is that vehicle that God has chosen, right? And before I move on, I'm almost ready to close. I want to give you just a little history because it's very important, right? Back in 2003, uh, God gave me a idea, so to speak, right? And again, that's what I want to say to y'all too. Don't think that God don't know where you at. Don't think that God does not know where you are because he placed you there or is trying to place you somewhere else too. Don't get me wrong, but don't think that God don't know where you at or don't know that you're an entrepreneur or don't know that you a mathematician, don't know that you good with kids, don't know that you can keep the church going, right? Don't know that you the man, you the woman, because I place stuff in you, man. You know what I mean? I like to talk about my wife now. She was a church girl from the kids. You know what I mean? She couldn't help but run and put her money in the basket as a kid, and that's her now. You know what I mean? So I would don't mess with people like that you understand. But my point is, we all are God's children, and we all have gifts and talents, and God knows what your gift and talent is, even if it's buried so deep in you. You know what I mean? That's why I need you to go check my poem out too, because at the end of that it says, hey, again, whether it's buried deep in the depths of your heart, whether you are 16 or 74, in order to see the end, it requires that you start. So you got stuff in you, man. You got stuff in you, lady, right? And God knows that it's there. But back to my story. Back in 2003, uh, being an entrepreneur, God gave me a thought in my mind, and it said, "This is what it said." It says, it came in the form of a question, right? It says that if you had a product and or service, if you're selling a product and or service, and 99.9% of the people that you met were probable purchasers of that product or service, what would you be selling? Wow. You know what I mean? That's a question, right? What would you be selling? And guess what the answer is? Hope. 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 Tell me, tell me that ain't that's you know what I mean? And so out of that ABA Salon and Network, or I should say ABA Network was created. I was already in the salon. So it was ABA Salon and Network, right? Hope, right? Hope, man. You know what I mean? And that's what people are looking for today, hope, right? But as Jesus did, you got to get them right where they are. If you're a business owner, hey man, I can show you how to do it in your business, right? If you're a teacher, I can show you how to teach these kids, right? A second language, Spanish, and all that. We're gonna get to that a little later too, right? Every black children, every black child from Wesley Stamps ABA Network's perspective should be learning a second language, right? And guess what that second language should be? Spanish, my brothers and sisters, Spanish, right? Because you start traveling the world and you see what the language is, Spanish, and you don't even have to travel. You know what's on this side of the water now, my Hispanic brothers, right? And I'm correcting that too. I said Mexican brothers, Mexican speaking, my Hispanic brothers that speak Spanish, right? Right? They're on our they're putting roofs on our house, they cutting our grass, they're doing this, they're doing that. They look like us, right? Right? But they don't sound like us. And guess what? When they come on this side of the water, you know what that orientation is, right? You ain't like them black people. You look like them, but you ain't like them. Why? Because of the minority and majority thing. You know what I mean? And I talked about that a little about that in how can I help you? And it's chestnut checkers out. Got to go check that out, man. I gotta go check that out. And I need your support, right? I need your support, right? That's the thing that I'm coming with this podcast too. You know, in business, they ask you, what are you trying to accomplish here, Wes? What do you need, right? And I need all of y'all to go to to check my poem out at ABA Purpose on YouTube. I need you to what we need them to do, child. I need them to go to Facebook. I need them to go to Instagram. You know what I mean? I need y'all to do all of that for ABA Network because why? Because it's for you, man. It's for y'all, lady, right? And this thing is fun, man. It is fun creating power that God is would be proud of. You know what I mean? Power for its power in itself is just being the biggest rat in the rat race. But power for God is to say we changing the rat race, man. We ain't crabs in a barrel no more, right? We getting rid of that stinking thinking, right? And we replacing it with thinking, and we starting to patronize and God. We starting to use our God and trust with people who look like us, right? These things that I mentioned have gotten God's attention, and He says, "Free your mind." And guess what will follow? Your backside will follow, right? So God is doing a new thing, man, and He's in the practicality business. And He's saying, "Come on, let's go, Wes." He's saying, "Come on, let's go, Tyra." He said, "Come on, let's go, Denise." He said, "Come on, let's go, Gail." Right? He said, "Come on, let's go, Tori." Right? Right? And these names that I mentioned, obviously, they are special to me, right? As in my daughters and my wife, and you know what I mean. And he's talking to my grandbabies, right? Yeah, there you go, girl, there you go, guy. You know, you know that math, don't you, man? Don't let them tell you don't let them tell you that you should be this way, that way. Just you go and do what you do, right? He's telling your kids that, man, right? And they looking at us and being what we are, so to speak. You know what I mean? So again, man, he's just talking to us. He's talking to us as parents, man. He's saying, lady, look, I know you messed up, but you don't have to stay messed up. You know what I mean? He's saying it on all levels. You know what I mean? And you know, I got my pet peeves. You know, the pretty. We got some of the prettiest girls in Detroit. You know, some of them I look at as my daughters, as my granddaughters. As, you know what I mean? Pull your. You don't have to show them everything. You know what I mean? Pull your, whatever. You know what I mean? Pull your shirt down and you still sexy, whatever. You know what I mean? You talking to my guys, right? Man, pull your pants up, man. Pull your pants up, okay? I understand it was a trend and all that, but okay, come on, let's do something different, right? So I can talk to you, so you can hear me. So anyway, that's just another thing. So um, again, ABA network, the movement, God's way, practicality, man. Practicality, right? Right? You know, all things are possible, right? And all things are possible is probable. But when it becomes practical, it's right on your table, man. You know what I mean? And so God is trying to talk to you at the level that you are, wherever you are. You know what I mean? And He's saying to our multi-billionaires and multi-millionaires and billionaires, He's saying, "Come on, y'all, come on, ask that question. What can I do or mention that will get God's attention?" He's saying that to the people that's in the gutter. He said, "Come on, man. I help you if you want to be helped, right?" And you can ask that question, "What can I do or mention that will get God's attention?" He's saying that in the middle, right? What can we do or mention that will get God's attention, right? Can you imagine a chosen people, man, that wake up? You know, I talked about the 100th monkey, man. Can you imagine the 100th person that get rid of that stinking thinking, or the number 1,000 person to get rid of that stinking thinking, and then everybody start to follow. Say, hey man, this don't look right. I'm gonna do this. Can you imagine that, man? That's the whole thing, imagination. Can you imagine having in your hand the ability to change the world? God, no, it's there, but we got to lift that consciousness up, man. We got to lift that consciousness up. You know what I mean? So, 4C program. Here we go. 4C program, creating a community of conscious consumers, right? I ain't just talking the game. I'm saying we have a program designed, and it's called the 4C program, creating a community of conscious consumers, right? What I want you to do, I want you to go to abanetwork.net, sign up, man. It's easy sign. I want you to go to Facebook, go down and scroll down. We got a link. Hit the link, man. It's a jot form. It's easy, man. Right? It's easy, lady. Right? And I'm talking to guys, but I'm especially talking to ladies, man, because we do what y'all make us do. You know what I mean? You know. So whereas we hard headed and continually just moving on doing what we're doing, but your wife, your significant other, you know, she'll get a hold to it. She said, "Look, this is what we got to do. Have you heard of ABA Network? I think you need to listen to it, right?" So yes, 4C program, creating a community of conscious consumers, right? Sign-ups, our website, abanetwork.net, Facebook. You can find me, Wesley Stamps, it'll come up. ABA Network, it'll come up. Instagram, same thing, man. You know what I mean? Sign up, lady. You can't finish till we get started, right? And it's worth doing. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be like I'm begging you to do it, man. But it's just a passion, man. It's like, if somebody came to me and say, Wes, you know what you're holding here, man? If you go down to the store and I'm telling you, this is worth more than you think it's worth. So, you know what I mean? That's God talking to you again, right? So practicality, exciting. Now, our churches, right? Um, churches, man. Never, like I said, you know, Third New Hope is we in, man. We in. Uh, we got an exciting pastor, Pastor Quantez Presley, right? And he gets tired of me talking to him about this economic thing. He said, "Well, yeah, I know, so to speak." You know what I mean? But that's my guy, and I'm his guy, so he understands. You know what I mean? I got to, we gotta own some stuff, man. You know what I mean? The churches should own at least the property that they're sitting on, man. They should own this block, that block, the next block. You know what I mean? You should be riding to church and say, man, this block. Say, yeah, the church owned that block, man, and the church owned that block, and they owned the block behind. And guess what? We getting ready to own that block, and everything that we own. Guess what? God is ahead of us, so it turns into a community. Come on, man. Come on now, churches, man. Right? Millionaires and billionaires. I don't care. I'm not mad at you, man. I put that on I put that on Facebook, man. People was coming at me all kind of ways. Oh, I can do whatever I want to do with my money, and they wasn't talking their money because they wasn't millionaires and billionaires. They didn't even get the question. I said, if you know, I said this is for my millionaires and billionaires. It ain't for it ain't for the what the people in the crowd. You talking about you telling me what a billionaire or millionaire can do with their money. Are you a millionaire, billionaire? So it wasn't even for you, period. But man, I got all kind of, so what God says, if you ain't doing nothing, you ain't getting criticized, right? So I must be doing something, right? And so my millionaires, billionaires, multi-millionaires, man, come on, y'all. Come on now. Again, money you cannot spend. All you gotta do is ask that question. What can I do a mission that will get God's attention? Right? And God will tell you that, okay, do this or do that. And if you can't do it, I understand all that too. Right? But as I said, ABA Network, we'll do the dirty work for you. Right? But we got to get rid of that stinking thinking, man, from the top all the way to the bottom. You know what I mean? You can only have so many mansions. You can only have so many Rolls Royces. You know what I mean? And you get, you know that you're out of order when you start to then had everything and get tired of everything and say, well, maybe I'll try this. Come on now. No, 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 no. You know what I mean? Everybody wasn't born to, So anyway, that's another thing. But my point is resources, man. Too much is given, much is expected. Right? It's right there in the Bible. Right? Right? So that's what we're going with, man. That's what we're going with. And as we say, um, as we say, Tara, as we say, what is a what is a child of God with no power? What is that, Tara?
That is a problem.
You got doggone right. That is a problem. You know what I mean? So that is a problem, right? God, that's that's a what oxymoron. That's a whatever. You know what I mean? You a child of God and walk around here powerless. Come on, man. Come on, man. In God we trust. In your pocket, right? That's your. Ain't nothing about anything that has God's name on it, man. You know what I mean? It's not happenstance, right? That's calling you to do something. You know what I mean? I was talking about property and stuff, man. That's in the Bible, man. Back in the Bible, what did God give people? Land, man. Landlords. Come on, man. We got to be landlords, man. You know, how do you build wealth? Land, right? You know what I mean? And so we got to be a part of this thing. Not only a part of it, God wants it in our hands, right? If it's in your hands, how many people get fed, right? Right? How many neighborhoods happen? How many 12-step programs that work happen? You know what I mean? How does the underserved become not underserved anymore? Through us, right? And again, I got a poem about it. ABA Purpose on YouTube, right? So this is what I'm talking about, man, lady, and it's time for us to have some fun in seeing things change, man. You know what I mean? That imagination thing. Can you imagine all the churches coming together? Say we ain't talking about Baptists right now. We ain't talking about this. We ain't talking about that. We ain't talking about that. We're talking about economics, right? We're talking about communities and owning property and the land. Can you imagine that? Right? Can you imagine? Here we go with me now. And this is gonna be a future podcast and the future is right here. So this probably be the next podcast where I would just devote the whole podcast talking to the hair industry. Wow, man, we got salons on every corner, man. And I'm talking about some talented people, man. We do work, man, right? But you gotta start plugging your salon up with the ABA network way. You know what I mean? How can I help you? Well, you can't help me because you don't know me. And by the way, um, Lisa, I'm just pulling the name out the hat. And by the way, Lisa, I've been coming to you for uh, 3, 4 years, and you don't know whether I'm married, single. You don't know if I'm a teacher. You don't know if I'm a police officer. You don't know nothing about me, right? Right? And so, what will Amazon tell you that Amazon will tell you losing money, young woman. You losing money, young man. You know what I mean? And I say Amazon because that's who you pay attention to. Maybe Amazon or Ford or Chase or whatever. You know what I mean? Corporations would tell you to say, but guess what? The most important one would tell you, God. Guess what God would tell you? Come on, my child. Come on, man. You know, you got it right in your hands. You got the whole world in your hands now. What are you going to do with it? So that's my thing, man. To my salons now, y'all got to plug up the ABA network. I'm a, we gonna make your income go from what it is to the highest that it could be, right? But we're gonna do it with God's approval. Now, if you ever want to do something and you can do something with God's approval, boy, lady, man, y'all better come on get this thing. ABAnetwork.net. ABAnetwork.net, right? And on my pages, it's simple. We got links, because nowadays y- we don't even want to take the time to put ABAnetwork.net in there. Give me a link. I got links for you. Hit the link, man. Hit the link and sign up. That's all you got to sign up. All the sign up is saying, it's still saying the same thing I said. How can I help you? I don't know you. That's what you're doing with the sign up. Here, this is who I am. This is what I can. Here, I'll answer this question. Yes, I think this and I think that. And we on the road, man. We on the road. So I'm getting ready to close up. What you think, Tara? Good. We did enough time, and I can talk forever, man. I got so much stuff to say. But this is the third podcast, and we're gonna be doing future podcasts. Now, this is what I want to. This is also what I want to leave with y'all. I want to leave y'all some names, just in case you think I'm just talking stuff, right? But the first name I want you to put at the top is this: ABA Network net, right? If you need my name, Wesley Stamps, right? I put my name on everything. People say, man, you need a hook. You can't put I put my name on everything because I'm transparent. I'm trying to be transparent, right? I'm too old not to be transparent. And y'all need to get to the transparency. And that way that way you can do anything you want to do. Because if they pull your car, say, well, okay, so what? You know that. That's public knowledge, right? That's what we need to get. Transparency. Jesus is transparent, right? And so that's part of our thing. Secrets. Got to point them on that too. Or, again, secrets. Got to get rid of them secrets, man. Got to get rid of them secrets. So, what I'm saying that I got some names for y'all. And at the top of it, I want you to put ABAnetwork.net because regardless of how popular these names are, right? We are going to your power is going to be from the ground roots, right? It's going to be this network that you are part of that's going to put pressure. You're going to say, hey, man, I'm starting to hear about this ABA network, the Beautiful Association. What makes it a beautiful association is people like myself. You know what I mean? I want to be a part of that. That's one of my objectives. So here we go. ABAnetwork.net at the top, and here's some names for you, and it's not necessarily in this order, right? Have y'all heard of, and I'm gonna go from the seniors first, right? Have you heard of George Frazier? Have you heard of George Frazier, man? George Frazier his title is the networking king. He's been doing this for 80 years, man. He's been talking to us hard-headed black people with all this potential and all this money and been trying to get rid of that stinking thinking for 80 years, man. Do you understand that? I can imagine his pain. Yeah, and he's still on there. So I say that to say, George Frazier, man, check it out. He on YouTube, he on Facebook, but YouTube in particular, I know he's on YouTube, right? Right? And when you deal with this, what I'm saying, I need you to deal with it from God's perspective, saying that there's no excuses. My people perish by lack of knowledge. You got education in your hand, boy, right? You got education in your hand, girl. And I cannot help if the lightning strikes you because you choose to be ignorant now, right? You are actually choosing not to know. And I've made it available to you in a smartphone. Okay, so George Frazier, one, right? Recently, this guy has grabbed my attention. And all of these guys that I'm talking about now, they got the resources, right? They got resources. They really want to hear from us now. because the pressure is gonna come from the ground, baby. That's where the pressure come from. You know what I mean? So okay, so this next guy that has really got my attention, I want to make sure I get his name right. Um, John Hope Bryant. I think it's John L. Hope Bryant, but I know it's John Hope Bryant. Right? Right? Look it up on YouTube. Right? And I know y'all know about the Breakfast Club and all of that, right? Charlemagne the God and all of that. And I'm not they good, and I'm not, again, I ain't no hater, period, right? Okay, but these guys that I'm talking about is hitting the nail on the head, baby. John Hope Bryant, right? That's two, right? The third one I want you to talk about or look up is Jamal, Pastor Jamal Bryant, and I don't think they related, but Pastor Jamal Bryant, and I say Pastor Jamal Bryant because because I think his voice is being attached to this movement, man, like never before. And he is, again, I ain't putting him wherever he should not be, but I am saying the benefit of the doubt from Wesley Snipes' perspective. I haven't heard a preacher talk about churches coming together economically, right? Right? I haven't heard of that, man. And so that I give him credit for, right? And I put my church in there as in Third New Hope Baptist Church. You want a good church, man, lady? Come on. We got a good preacher, man. He's a young guy that with an old soul, but that spirit is in him. Mr. Quantez Presley, Pastor Quantez Presley, and he came from good ground, as in Pastor Emeritus E.L. Branch, right? And I just went to a conference this past weekend was dynamite called Voice of the Prophet. Dynamite, man. So again, Jamal Bryant, um, Third New Hope Church, Quantez Presley, I'm gonna put him in there. That's my man. He walks the walk, talks the talk. That's what I'm talking about, right? Who else? It was a couple others. Um, but it's on and on for me because I'm, you know what I mean. Les Brown. Les Brown is a motivator speaker, right? You can't beat Les. Les been in this thing forever, man, trying to uplift people's spirits, man. You know what I mean? Les told me about again on this side of the water, right? He said, hey, he was in another country, and speaking of the best country ever, the best United States on this side of the water. Les gave that story stuck in my mind forever, man. Let's say, hey, he was in another country, and the boy told him, Yankee, go home and take me with you, right? So now you tell me again, it ain't perfect, but this is the best country in the world. They ain't dying to get all out of here. They dying to come in here on boats and drowning and whatever, right? And God sent us over here under the boat, right? But He sent us over here for a reason, man. You know what I mean? He sent us over here for a reason, and now it's time for us to come to our proper place, right? And it's not a. It's, I say when I say power, it's God's power, man. So whenever you talk about God's power, everybody benefits. God ain't talking about you, black man, and then you do what the oppressor that did to you. That ain't God's thing, man. God's saying, look, man, if my people call by my name, I want to save this planet, man. I'm tired. I'm getting ready to blow this thing up, man. You know what I mean? You think this is gonna continue? And so that's what that scripture is about. God is giving us grace and mercy, man. You know what I mean? In closing, I go back to I say how did that come about? Um, uh, um, um, how did my title come about? Um, uh, um, where am I tired? How did my title come about? Um, how can we what can we do a missionary we get God's attention, right? My title came about by saying my brothers and sisters, and again, this is I blame it all on God and the Spirit of God and the way He talks to me. My brothers and sisters, what if the world was ending tomorrow? What if the world was ending tomorrow? What would you be doing, man? What would you be doing, right? Contrary to popular belief, Whether you're a Christian, God's child, or don't even know you God's child, you be doing one thing only. You be praying, trying to get an extension. That's what you be doing, right? That's what we be doing. You be saying, hey, Tyra, hey, Wes, hey, Gail, hey, so and so. I know you talk to God. I know you got a relationship. Can you extend it? Talk to him so we can extend this thing, right? That's what you would be doing, right? And you would be saying your prayers, oh Lord, I'm gonna change, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Please, if you knew the world was ending tomorrow, right? But here's the catch to that. Here's the catch to that, Tyra. The catch to that is the world is ending tomorrow, knucklehead, right? But God's tomorrows and our tomorrows are two different concepts. Thank God for his grace and mercy. Am I right? Right? Because don't you think for a minute now that this thing is still going to be going haywire, crazy, right? Young kids killing each other. Fathers still ain't caring about their kids. You know what I mean? A teacher can't even get a parent to you got to yeah, I'm close out a minute. But you know you got the worst kid in the school, right? You know you got the worst kid in the school. My mama knew what I was doing, and you go up cussing the teacher out. You man, come on now. If I was a parent, I'd go help the teacher, right? Regardless of what I couldn't do. And if I got up there and I'm illiterate, but I'm coming from God's perspective, the teacher would say, hey, I've been waiting for you. I help you. Come on, I help you. We got some good teachers. So right. So if I was, I go help myself. If I, if young man put down my gun, father go find my son. Right. Parent go help the teachers. Start economic program from the pulpit. Father preaching. We're gonna stop right there. Wow. Can you imagine that, man? I'm stuck on that boy. God, dog. And the little churches, big churches, just come together and say, okay, this is about economics. You know what I mean? Right? And the last thing I'm gonna say about that is again, we serve Jesus Christ, right? We serve Jesus Christ, right? And Christ was a carpenter, y'all. Come on now, I'm a barber. Now, I'm a barber, and I can't help but the first thing I look at is your hair. I ain't gonna stare at it. But that's another thing too. When we get to talking about hair, man, look, y'all gotta get rid of that shoe polish. Now. You got to get rid of the shoe polish. We got hair fibers. We got some stuff that's way better than that. But you got to get rid of the shoe polish. But I'm not talking about that. But I'm a barber, right? So Christ the carpenter, right? And he comes to our churches through our hoods, right? Now, come on. The first thing he said to the preacher, and Christ would do it because Christ, he been going places in the Bible forever. And at a moment's notice, he see a need, he go the other way. He said, wait a minute, wait a minute. Well, come on, Lord, we got to be over here in 3 days. We got to keep walking. He said, wait a minute, this lady over here, man, is calling me, man. And she got more faith than anybody, right? So I say that to say that Christ will be coming to our church, and y'all got some of the same churches. He'd be coming to our church, and he's a carpenter. And he couldn't help but look and see all of this torn down property. All these burnt up houses is still standing there, man. And so he said to the preacher, he said, hey, and this is in my spirit, I don't care. I know he would say it, because I would say it from a barber's perspective, man. Get your haircut, boy. Get that shoe polish off your head. But anyway, long story short, he would say, look, I know what your sermon is, but scratch it, right? For the next 2 years, I'm gonna give you 2 years for the congregation to catch on. Your sermon gonna be tear it down and build it up, because all of this stuff I see around you, man, y'all should be able to get this thing for 2 cents a square, right? You should be able to own all of this stuff, right? And be landlords, right? Right? In God we trust. You still got my name on stuff. Come on now. What are you doing? Right? I don't care nothing about no politics. I don't care nothing about y'all being in this box, that box, you know? And if you can't do it, I understand. Okay, you need to stay in your box so that you can, not be a profitable and be non-profit and all of that. But hey, I got somebody for y'all. I sent somebody for y'all. ABAnetwork.net. Get him the money. He'll do it. He'll do it. They got the people and everything. So I'm just saying that to say, man, this thing is just, woo, Lord. You hear me? I'll be doing this the rest of my life, and I got less time to be here than I've already had, than I've been here. You know what I mean? So I'll be doing this the rest of my life, and this is my energy. And ABAnetwork.net, man. I want y'all to take them names I said, and then when you get in touch with them names and filling out the little things and creating relationships with them, the first thing I want you to come out your mouth and say, man, you need to deal with this ABAnetwork.net because that's where we coming from, right? And I can guarantee you, brother, that I'm praying every day and will continue to pray and got people around me that's gonna keep me straight, right? If I get $1 million a day tomorrow, I'm gonna tell you in my spirit, I'm gonna be able to listen to God when he say, look, that $1 million should go over here. You know, now that ain't to say I won't have a relate. Come on, Lord, I can't. Look, Wes, the $1 million, okay, I got it. It's gone. That's the kind of organization I got. That's who I am. I ain't got nothing to lose. You know what I mean? I'm too old to be trying to act like I'm gonna live for 100 years, right? You know, so that's that, right? Come on, preachers, let's do this thing, man. Let's do this thing, you know. And God is for us, and He's instructing us, and He's saying that um, I gave you something last year, and I come back, and you still ain't did nothing with it, man. You know what I mean? You ain't put my money in the bank. You ain't did. Give me that talent. Give it to me. I'll give it. I'll give it to the guy over here that you know he don't even need it, right? I give it to Mr. Chase. You know what I mean? I'll give it to so and so. You know what I mean? I give it to so and so. Cause why? Because at least they know what to do with a gift and talent, right? That don't make them evil. That don't make them. You know what I mean? And whenever we talk about evil people, anyway, we got to know that ain't your job, no way. You know what I mean? God said, I'll take care of that. What you need to do, you maybe, and He says this in the Bible too. You maybe need to go to where He's at and learn what He's doing. So anyway, love y'all. I'm gonna close this thing out. I'm gonna close this thing out with my poem that I will always close my podcast out with. Okay, so I get this poem right. And please go to this poem is also on YouTube, right, Tara? Here we go. You ready? We have the money. We spend the money. We have to get rid of the stinking, right? Add the thinking. Start to spend our in God we trust with people who look like us. These things that I mentioned has already gotten God's attention. And He says, my peeps, free your mind and your backside will follow. How about that? There's no plan in that, though. Thinking, gotta go, baby. Gotta go, gotta go. Love y'all. ABAnetwork.net. Everything that you see at the bottom of the screen, we're gonna put links and everything that I said. We're gonna put some words to it and all that good stuff. Um, but I want y'all to take this wholeheartedly because we are in a movement here, man, and this thing feels good. But you got to feel it in your spirit, man. You know what I mean? It's in your consciousness. You got to raise your consciousness in order to see it. You know what I mean? But it's there. You got it, and we can do it, and we can do it. And and as I said, what can you do to mention that get God's attention? It ain't got to be that big. It ain't got to be that small. You'd be surprised. I'm here now with my last born, right? I'm here with my last born. You tell me that ain't a blessing. With my last born, who has been to college, right? Right. Bowling Green. I didn't know that last. I couldn't get that out last time. Bowling Green, right? And she has, what college teaches you from this one-on-one man's perspective. College teaches you how to learn, right? And she knows how to learn, right? You can tell her something, and she'll think about it and put it together and go look on the paper and read it. So okay, Dad, we can do this. Come on, man. What can you do to get God's attention? It's right there. I got a firstborn, right? She's got barbecue central, right? Best food, best barbecue in the state of Michigan, right? She got a food truck. We got a food truck going on, right? What can you do? They mentioned that we get guys' attention, right? Right. Just lost my son, and that is, ooh, that's crazy. But on that same note, I got a wife, man. I got a wife. You know what she's doing? My wife is, her goal is to speak fluent Spanish. And boy, she's already there, man. You know what I mean? And you talk about a Christian child of God, so you know what God is telling her: teach these babies Spanish, right? And teach the Spanish babies English, right? Here we go with that people of color, man. Again, you know what I mean? This is a majority, not a minority, man. We got to get out. We get out of that minority box. You can go ahead on with that, right? Over on this side of the world, it's about majority, right? But we got to understand them orientations. And one of the ways to knock that down is God stuff, right? Education, right? Our people perish by lack of knowledge, right? Right? Teach them, bring them together. You know what I mean? So ain't that exciting? Okay, we do this. We got it. I can go on and on. I got a grandbaby. I got a grandson. I had a grandson, and he's just on Facebook. It's his mama right here. And he growing up like crazy, right? But this young man, you know, I didn't. You might try to put him in any box you want to put him in, but it don't matter. This boy's smart, man. I mean, this boy a thinker. You know what I mean? He's a thinker, and whatever, whatever, he's a thinker. And I say to parents, whatever your kid is, pay attention to it. Go with it. You know what I mean? Marketers, right? Teach your babies how to be marketers. Why? Because they already got a smartphone in their hand, man. Teach them to sell something. Don't teach them to go to college just to work for somebody, and that's good. Don't get me wrong. But you teach them, hey, man, instead of Jordan's name or Nike or whoever the case may be, okay, that's cool. But what about putting your name on it? What can we put your name on it? And so you listen to a parent, mama, you listen to him too, because he might be teaching you something. Don't get all dad and mama, don't get all frustrated and insecure. Your baby might know more than you know about some things. But that's God, man. If he know it, you know it. Sit your butt down and say, hey man, teach me that. Teach me that. Teach me how to read. Teach me how did you learn that? You might be surprised, right? So what else, Ty? I can talk all day, but I love y'all. And I'm trying to get some action from this, man. So don't be, like I say, look me up. Look us up. ABAnetwork.net. A beautiful association. What makes it a beautiful association is people like yourself. You heard my poem. I said it. Put it in your spirit, man. We make the money. We make the money. We spend the money. Come on now. In God we trust. People like us, right? These things that I mentioned has gotten God's attention. Free your mind and your backside will follow. Peace. Love y'all.
What can we do or mention that would get God's attention? As a young man, I could put down my gun. As a father, I could go find my son. As a parent, I could go help the teacher. I could start an economic program from the pulpit if I was a preacher. If I was an addict, I'd take my last hit, turn around and say to my father, I am truly done. As a warrior, I could hit these mean streets of the D and try to save our sons. As a billionaire, I could commit an unlimited amount of funds to an effective, phenomenal, amazing class that would educate and produce a future for the underserved while releasing them from their past. If with all our gifts and talents to the table we would bring, the vision would be his kingdom that he mentioned as our king. So let us remember who's the author of vision, although it may be buried deep in the depths of your heart. Whether you are 17 or 64, in order to see the ending, it requires that you start.
My brothers and sisters, when does the world change? When we change. Our mandate was and remains management.